all love Deadpool, but the Merc with the Mouth's appearance in the, let's say, divisive movie X-Men Origins Wolverine is somewhat questionable. The final decision to have Ryan Reynolds cast as Deadpool and then take away his mouth was controversial enough, but the glowing red eyes and almost Voldemort-looking features from the concept art is even more bizarre. The Deadpool team were almost at risk of getting the character design all wrong again with the concept art for the first Deadpool movie, with one of the images showing Deadpool looking more like Jason from Friday the 13th and even wearing a hockey mask in another image. I know Ryan Reynolds is Canadian, but still, a hockey mask? The Amazing Spider-Man movies with Andrew Garfield are another bunch that have a mixed reception amongst fans, and part of the reason was the costume design. But the costume in the concept art is arguably weaker. In the image, we can see the spider emblem located over his heart, which I weirdly kinda like, but has thin eyes that stretch to the back of his head, and a cape made out of spider web, which doesn't look practical at all. Moving on to Guardians of the Galaxy, Michael Rooker's Ravager Yondu is easily a fan favorite, with his look highly iconic, but the original concept of the character was very different. While the blue skin and red mohawk were basically the same, in the concept art we can see him wearing armor that exposes his midriff, an eye patch, golden armlets, and even a cape. It's a cool image, but to be honest, I'm not disappointed that it didn't come to life. Keeping on with the Guardians, you wouldn't really expect there to be too many different designs for Rocket because, well, he's a raccoon and they all look the same. A bunch of thieving trash pandas. We'll never forgive them for stealing my hamburger. Well, anyways, the original look for Rocket was very different from the concept art, showing a bigger, bulkier, older, and grizzled-looking Rocket, and to be honest, he kinda looks cool. I mean, he looks more like Gimli from Lord of the Rings than Rocket, but still, maybe this Rocket will come to life in the future, and Marvel will make a Logan-style Old Man Rocket movie with Groot as Professor X. Now that would be awesome. In my opinion, Benedict Cumberbatch's version of Doctor Strange is pretty comic accurate, but another look for the character was once considered. In one concept art, we see a fashionable Doctor Strange fit for the runway in all blue. I kinda like it, to be honest. I just like blue. In another image for Infinity War, we can see what Doctor Strange would look like in an Iron Man suit. This was an initial idea for the movie until it was scrapped, but I mean, it's pretty cool, right? It even has the Eye of Agamotto right in the arc reactor spot. Black Panther is not exactly wanting for coolness, and his suit is arguably one of the strongest out of all the comic book characters. But in early concepts, we could see a more minimalist approach for the Black Panther look. With an open cowl and more rounded features, it arguably looks more like Batman, which, I mean, isn't a bad thing. To be honest though, I think the final design is the winner here. Jeff Goldblum is absolutely iconic as the Grandmaster in Thor Ragnarok. Seriously, who doesn't love the Jeff? But it is arguably not very in keeping with the comic book design. However, the original concept art was much more in line with the comic books, with the character having blue skin and golden eyes, with just a hint of Jeff Goldblum in there. In the end, they went with a much more simple look, with an outfit that Goldblum probably just showed up to set in, and to be honest, we're okay with it. In my opinion, Apocalypse from X-Men Apocalypse was rather disappointing, and to be honest, so was the movie as a whole. But it arguably could have been even worse, judging by the concept art for Magneto. The design for Magneto after he is corrupted by Apocalypse shows him with purple skin and black armor instead of his classic burgundy design. Yeah, not for me. Now let's move away from the Marvel properties over to the DCEU for a minute. To be honest, I think there are little out there that would say Henry Cavill isn't a perfect Superman. I mean, he looks like he was literally made for the part. But in my opinion, the concept art for the character in Man of Steel is a little odd. In one design, we see what looks like Superman with a suit that emanates energy and basically shows off every one of Henry Cavill's muscles. I think I prefer the safer version we see in the movie. Now, while Batman vs. Superman is arguably controversial, for the most part, people agree that Ben Affleck did a pretty good job and overall was a good Batman. His suit was cool and suited the physicality and gruffness the actor brought to the table, but the unused concept design for the character is even more gruff and focuses even more on the physicality of Bats while being more technically advanced and expressive. Both designs are cool. I mean, it's Batman. Even putting nipples on him didn't stop him being cool, but I kinda like the concept art even more. Like Batman vs. Superman, while Suicide Squad was controversial, Harley Quinn was basically universally adored, with Margot Robbie crushing the role. Her costume was part of the reason why the character was so successful, but the original design was actually arguably more comic accurate. The concept art shows Harley with bright red makeup and a skimpier outfit, as well as Joker-style tattoos. Both are pretty cool, and Robbie would have easily made both work. Like Harley Quinn, Deadshot was one of the best things to come out of Suicide Squad. Seriously, I would have rather a whole movie of Deadshot versus Bats, but the concept design could have completely changed the character's look. In one piece of concept art, we see an arguably more comic book accurate Deadshot with a tight red suit and mask taken from the comic books. The look would have made the character look completely different, which would have meant less Will Smith, and no one wants to hear that. Now, to be honest, I know I'm in the minority here, but I like the Killer Croc from Suicide Squad. However, I will readily admit that I prefer the concept art for the character, which offers an arguably more comic book accurate look. The concept art looks much more realistic and physically imposing, and is arguably more true to the murderous alligator. Wait, that's not his name. The Iron Man suit is pretty darn cool, right? But what if it were to look more like a fighter jet? That would be even cooler, surely. Well, actually, it isn't.
And don't call me Shirley.
In an unused piece of concept art for Iron Man 3, we see the red and gold look swapped out for a silver supersonic jet design, with Iron Man made to look more aerodynamic. In fact, with the silver fins and pointed head, he kinda looks like a great white. Maybe we should call him Tony Shark.